interesting conversations on and off the air with Linda Scott, with David Littleproud, and of course with Michael Kroger. So there was an opinion piece in news.com.au that was sort of angry about the catch cry word woke, that it is overused, particularly by people on the centre-right of politics, as basically a thing that is everything you dislike. Now, in part, people, what they say here is there must be a way to mock the lefties, when they say overreach, when they take overreach into a farcical territory, which they often do without becoming sort of vacuous automatons, repeating the same meaningless word over and over again. Now, I wanted to talk about this because you hear the word woke a lot. I even have people who occasionally ask me, well, hang on, what does it actually mean? As best as I understand it means is that you are awoken to the sins of the world and you want to do something about it. Michael, what does the word mean, and what do you think of this criticism that essentially the word has lost its meaning because it is overused about everything you disagree with?
It's not a very, in terms of political language, it's not a very powerful word. It's like the nanny state, woke. These are the terms of the centre-right to describe what they don't like about the campaigns of the centre-left. The left's wording is much more powerful politically. Their two main weapons are the words, racism, which is probably the most, which is their strongest word. Everything's racist in the modern era. Wokeism is basically the political campaigns of the cosmopolitan elites, the inner city elites. They are punitive. Many of them are nasty. They're dressed up as tolerant, but they are opposing free speech. They oppose freedom of thought. There's a tinge of neo-fascism to the way in which they go about these campaigns. In other words, belittling, abusing, criticising, intimidating opponents. And The Voice is a perfect example of a woke campaign where opponents are, as Jacinta said, you're racist if you don't agree to this proposal, which is, of course, as we've said, the most extreme change to the Australian Constitution since 1901. Of the 44 referenda, nothing as extreme as this. This will totally change the way government operates in the country. If you're an opponent of that campaign, well, you're seen as a racist. But basically, they're the political campaigns of the cosmopolitan elite, and they track and accept no criticism.
Linda is the official representative of all things centre-left. When somebody throws the word woke at you, do you think good point, or you've just lost the argument, pal? Because anyone who breaks glass and says woke, they're going to lose. They're on the losing side and they're just whinging.
Look, I get called all sorts of names on this show and I don't mind a bit, but the thing that I think is ridiculous about people who use the word woke is that they often then suggest a remedy which is even more inhibiting of free speech and other limitations than what the original criticism was. And I think in America, DeSantis is sort of the perfect example of that, calling every single thing at the moment woke, including bud beer, and then proposing that people should stop drinking beer. Now, whatever the reason for that, limiting the free speech of the market, surely that's a value that the American Republicans would want to be putting forward.
Any excuse to show people shooting beer.
I just think it's become a bit of a farce. It's become a word that is associated with a total sort of absence of meaning, and it is thrown around way too often. I want to, though, take up the point that Michael Kroger made, and as you'd imagine, strongly disagree with that. I mean, racism has a clear objective meaning that is rooted in history. It is very rarely thrown around, and it's thrown around for very serious reasons. And I just want to reject somehow the idea that one side of politics owns...
Lydia Thorpe said your Prime Minister's a racist. Lydia Thorpe said Anthony Albanese's a racist.
Well, you've just disproved your own point, Michael Kroger.
You just said it was thrown around. You just said it wasn't thrown around. Lydia Thorpe just called your leader a racist. Her father calls her a racist.
Well, my point is that it's only used by the left. And I think that's wrong, Michael Kroger. I think that racism is a clear term. It's clearly defined and it's rooted in history, and it's used not in any way only by those of us on the progressive arm of politics. Right. And I think that's wrong.
Oh, really? You don't seem to call anti-Semites racists. Right, you don't seem to call people who are anti-Jewish racists.
Well, Linda, if you want to respond, but I've got to get to 30 seconds, and David's been waiting for a while. So, David, give me a bold prediction for the week ahead. Legally, it is binding. Tell me what's definitely happening this week.
Mate, look, I'll take a red-hot crack at this, and I reckon for at least for half a day on Tuesday that even the woke will allow us as Australians to come together and to remember the 100-odd thousand Australians that lost their lives and those that are prepared to give their lives for us every day. Even if it's just for half a day, it's a bold prediction, but I hope and I pray that they'll give us at least half a day to remember those great Australians that put a uniform on for us.
It's a perfect one. Bloody oath. Thank you, guys. Do appreciate it. We'll see you again next week.